My name is Mrs. Makita Soriano, and I'm currently a resource counselor at Montgomery Blair High School. I'm going to be a part of this presentation for preparing your child for in-person learning of what to expect and how to respond. I'll allow my other colleagues to introduce themselves at this time before we begin.
Hello, my name is Farzana Nabadian. I'm a parent community coordinator, and I work at Montgomery Blair High School, Tacoma Park Middle School, and Rolling Terrace Elementary School.
Hello, my name is Trellis Jones, and I'm a school psychologist at Wheaton High School.
Hello, good evening. My name is Christina Parent, and I'm a school counselor at Pinecrest Elementary School.
Good evening. My name is Allison Jacobus. I'm a school psychologist at Silver Creek Middle School, North Chevy Chase Elementary, and Rolling Terrace Elementary.
Thank you so much. So again, this transition back to in-person is a major transition for our students. Most likely your student will have various emotional responses and different feelings returning to our school buildings. And so the goal of this presentation is to provide you as a guardian and caregiver with tools to support your children as they return to our buildings. So in this presentation, caregivers will learn about possible emotional responses of children as they return to in-person. They will learn ways of supporting children through their transition to in-person instruction, learn about the possible challenges with adjusting to these changes, and learn about the available resources we have through MCPS and within your school community. So children may respond in different ways when returning to in-person instruction. Some may feel happy because they're getting to see their friends, other students, and teachers in person, even with the new safety rules that they may be looking forward to playing, learning, and talking with other people in person. However, some may feel anxious or scared. Some families may have limited how much contact they have had with other people in places while staying at home during the pandemic. It may take time to adjust to the idea that it is now safer to be around more people. Other children may feel worried about how distance learning and the return to in-person instruction may affect their friendships and relationships with other students. Some children may be worried about their grades and managing how to improve their grades while still keeping track of the new rules and procedures for the in-person instruction. Some may feel angry or mad. They may feel upset because they dislike some of the changes for in-person instruction. Some students may become upset after returning in person to school if what in-person instruction looks like does not quite match their expectations or what they imagined. There are no right or wrong ways for children to feel about returning to school. All of these feelings are common ways that children feel when returning to in-person instruction. So why are children experiencing more mental health needs than they did before the pandemic? Some caregivers may wonder this. Caregivers of children who had mental health needs before the pandemic may be noticing an increase in their needs. While some challenges may disappear when returning to in-person instruction, some of these challenges may continue when returning to in-person instruction. For other children, new needs may arise. Before the pandemic, all children had some skills and tools they used to manage their emotions and cope with difficult things. For many children, the amount of skills and tools they have had were enough for them to successfully manage everyday problems and emotional demands. During the pandemic, the size of the problems and emotional demands have grown. For students who may have had just enough coping skills and tools before the pandemic, they may not have had enough skills and tools to handle these additional challenges as well. For children who did not have enough coping skills and tools before the pandemic, the gap between their skills and tools and the demands have grown even wider. As you can see here,
Multiple events have added additional stress and trauma for some children. While some of the demands and challenges that make it harder for children to cope may decrease after returning to in-person instruction, some may remain. Additional events that may have increased children's distress during this time include daily reports of the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths, personal changes or losses during the pandemic, election-related outcomes, seeing or participating in protests related to racial and social justice, and watching places near they lived being damaged. If your child is struggling now or during the transition to in-person instruction, you may notice a change in the way they act or feel. Some children may feel irritable or have little patience when things don't go their way. They may be quicker to yell or argue. Some children may feel like they are losing control over their lives because so many things seem out of control. Many children have a harder time concentrating, especially on tasks that require a lot of effort from them. Other children show they are having a hard time by hitting or slamming objects. Still others may show they are having a hard time by expressing their anger in social media posts. Social media posts may be about specific events or people. Some children may not say anything or appear to act differently. Instead, they may have trouble sleeping or may sleep too much. Similarly, some children may have little appetite, while others may eat more than usual. Some children may feel sick and experience stomach aches or headaches. As children return to in-person instruction, you or your child's teacher may observe your child experiencing other challenges. Younger children may have trouble leaving caregivers to go into the school building. Older children may appear disinterested in schoolwork because they feel uncertain of their future. Others may try to skip classes or avoid going to school. Children at different ages may use physical aggression, like hitting or throwing things, or verbal aggression, like yelling or cursing. Some children may feel sick due to their high level of distress. If you think your child may have difficulty transitioning to in-person instruction, there are some things you can try to do to prevent them from having greater difficulty. First, try to anticipate your child's warning signs. Think of another time your child experienced a stressful situation. What signs or symptoms did they show before the stressful event happened? If you see similar signs, then it may be helpful to start supporting your child before this next stressful event occurs. Most children benefit from consistent routines as a reliable and expected part of their day. Routines can also help give children a sense of normalcy. Many children also benefit from seeing others use coping strategies during these hard times. Show your child how you handle stress and explain why it helps you. Model coping strategies to show your child that they are not alone in needing to do something to help them cope. Finally, praise your child for using positive coping strategies and behaviors when they are stressed. For many children, this takes effort and hard work. They may appreciate being acknowledged for their effort. If your child does start to show signs of distress, you can guide them in regulating their body, thoughts, and feelings. Some activities that may help their child regulate their bodies are deep breathing, exercising, and drinking a glass of water.
In order to help children in their emotional responses, there are several ways that we can do that to regulate their emotions. Some activities that may be helpful are having students listening to music or creating art. We also want to help as caregivers to affirm their feelings. We want to make sure that we don't tell students to calm down. What we want to tell our children and what we want to do is to use statements like, I can tell that something is going on. And you want to reassure that you're supportive and that you say that I am here and that I can help. We also want to remain calm with our voice and our body language. And we want to show that we're interested as well in solving the solution to the problem. We also want to be able to relate to how our children are feeling. We can use strategies that make them feel safe by expressing their emotions and for them to know that we are there for them to listen and problem solve with them. Ways that we can also relate as parents and caregivers, we can listen to what our child is saying. Again, we want to use a calm tone and voice, and we want to always use statements showing empathy and care. For example, I can see that you are feeling and identify the emotion, frustrated, worried, or scared. We also want to use open-ended questions, and we also want to validate their feelings. We want to also provide them with clear directions. We want to engage them with reasons to problem solve, and we also want to process and problem solve with them and to also make them feel comfortable and calm. We also want to talk about the adjustment, how things might change and routines might change. We also want to talk about the feelings of fear being something that is unknown. We want to also worry about things that we want to do correctly or don't want them to worry about things. We want them to do them correctly. And we also want to explain to them that they may be overwhelmed by noises and sounds when they transition into the new learning space. Christina is now going to talk about some additional changes, what students might experience when they return to school buildings.
So as your child returns to the school building, there are some changes that we know will occur when students return. Some will be going to a new school for the first time. For pre-kindergarten and kindergarten students, this may be going to school for the first time ever. Some students are new to MCPS, and others have transitioned to new schools, including students who transitioned from elementary to middle school and middle to high school. So what changes will students experience when they return to school? We anticipate changes such as everyone in the building will need to wash and sanitize their hands more frequently, wear masks over their nose and mouth during most of the school day, remain physically distant from others, and frequently clean or organize their materials. For students who have been participating in distance learning from their home, there may be some additional changes to face. For example, they might need to wake up earlier and get ready earlier because they need to take extra time to get ready in the morning and travel to school. There may be more limitations on the space and time for snack and water breaks for children who are used to being able to take these breaks whenever they want to during distance learning. Similarly, children will need to share space and take time with other children when taking breaks in and out of the classroom in a way that aligns with safety rules. Some children will see some of their classmates in their classrooms, while other classmates may continue to learn virtually or maybe in a different room to accommodate physical distancing rules. For many children, there will be more people in their learning space than they've been used to during distance learning. It may be an adjustment for many children to use their social skills and resolve conflicts that may occur when in person and not when they were virtual. So when children experience big changes, they may act differently. So we have behavior changes. You may hear from teachers that your child is having more difficulty sitting, listening, and staying on task for as long as expected or as long as they are used to. Children may be distracted by the changes or excited about seeing classmates. Over time, many children will become less distracted and follow expectations and routines as they adjust to the transition. When younger children are struggling with changes, they may have temper tantrums, especially when things don't go their way. Younger and older children may try to avoid the changes by frequently asking to leave the learning space. The oldest children may refuse to comply with adult rules, especially if these rules are around access to technology that they may be used to using and having unlimited access to. Some reactions to change may be seen at home or at school. Adjusting to in-person instruction means adjusting to more social interactions throughout the day for many children. Younger children may have difficulty sharing materials if they can be shared safely, or adult attention with others if they're not used to doing that during distance learning. For other children, it may be hard to talk with others or listen and value others' perspectives when they have been used to having more conversations unrelated to schoolwork with classmates that they had during their distance learning. Children may also be out of practice in showing empathy to others. The oldest students in MCPS may struggle with limits being placed on when and how long they can talk to peers. In-person instruction means there is no longer a mute button. During distance learning, the mute button has always allowed students to call out answers or make noises in their learning space without interrupting others. Older students may have challenges communicating with an appropriate tone of voice and volume if they have not had practice or experience talking to a lot of different people during the pandemic. During distance learning, children have had flexibility to watch their lessons at different times or complete assignments after school. Some of these choices that students have made and have had may be more limited during in-person instruction. Some children may struggle with having this power taken away and may refuse to switch from a preferred activity to a less preferred activity. Some children during distance learning had the additional help from caregivers at home. When these children return to in-person instruction, teachers may report that they are having a harder time planning, beginning, organizing, and completing tasks without that help, or when that help is given in a different way. So how do we prepare students for change? It is helpful to prepare children for changes we can anticipate when returning to in-person instruction. It may help to have a conversation with your child or encourage them to draw or write about the changes. Consider asking them, what are you imagining in-person instruction to be like? How close do they expect to sit to their classmates? What materials do they expect to use? What areas of the classroom do they expect to have access to, and how often? These questions can help you as a caregiver understand which changes may be easier and which changes may be harder for their children to adjust to. Then you can have the conversation about realistic expectations for in-person instruction. Explain which expectations your child had that were correct and which ones need to be adjusted to match their school rules and changes. Discuss what the child will be able to control or make choices about what will be in and out of their control. Try to emphasize what will be in their control and what choices they are in charge of making.
For many children, it may help to have them practice rules and routines that they may not be used to during distance learning. Practicing at home before returning to in-person instruction gives children a place to practice, make mistakes, and problem solve the best way they can follow the rules and routines before returning to school building. For example, slowly adjust the time that your child wakes up in the morning over the days or weeks before returning to in-person instruction. Changing their sleep and wake schedule gradually will help them feel rested when returning to in-person instruction. If your child is not used to it, gradually increase the amount of time your child needs to wear a mask during the instructional day, during the days or weeks of distance learning leading to in-person instruction. Similarly, have your child practice having set times for snack, bathroom, and water breaks that may match the school routine. For children who have larger or multiple learning spaces that they use at home, they may need to get used to keeping all their learning materials in one smaller space. This can be practiced before returning to in-person instruction as well. It is important to remember that you're all learning and adjusting to changes during this time. If we cannot do it perfectly, we cannot expect children to do it perfectly either. Show your child appreciation for their effort in adjusting to new rules and expectations when attending in-person instruction. If they are struggling with some of the new rules, calmly discuss the reason for them and why they're important. Then, help your child think of strategies or solutions that will help them follow these new rules and expectations. Your child's school will have the most up-to-date information on what to expect when returning to in-person instruction. They may also have resources, events, and information about returning and related challenges specific to your school community. If you are interested in this information, check for emails or listen to the Sunday message on your phone. Looking at your school's website and social media accounts can also keep you up to date. If you have concerns about your child, you can contact your school. Each school in MCPS has a team of mental health providers and other staff members that are helping to support students who are struggling during this time. These teams may be called student well-being teams, or they may have a different name. If your school has one or more school counselors, a school psychologist, social workers, a pupil personnel worker, and a parent community coordinator, they are likely part of this team.
Pictured here is a flow chart of resources that will be available at all schools. Depending on the need, whether it's COVID-19 resources and relief programs, or support with trauma and loss, or access to these parent academy workshops and other family support resources, you'll be able to receive this caretaker toolkit flow chart from your local school, along with any other resource they may provide as well. MCPS also has online resources available district-wide. For example, you can visit the Be Well 365 website for information about mental health and well-being. In October, the MCPS Mental Health Awareness Week, co-sponsored by the Montgomery County School Psychologists Association, took place online. Videos about mental health and physical well-being, including ideas for self-care, coping strategies, and de-escalating children, remain available on the MCPS website. During the pandemic, MCPS has recorded the Waymaking series. Hosted by Dr. Connolly, the Director of Psychological Services for MCPS, the Waymaking series discusses mental health, community resources, and other topics to support all of us making our way through the pandemic. These videos can be found on the YouTube page for MCPS TV. Mindful Moments is another series of videos that can be found on the YouTube page of MCPS TV. These videos model mindfulness technique and lead viewers in ideas for self-care, coping strategies, in mindfulness, breathing, movement, and positive affirmations. Finally, Parent Academy to Go provides additional pre-recorded and live virtual courses for parents. You can find more in-depth information for parents on parenting skills, self-care and coping, and information sessions on topics such as the SAT versus the ACT and college and career planning. And of course, as always, reach out to your local school. Again, the BeTheOne.org is a website right here created by and for students to help those who are struggling with substance abuse and mental health needs. Every Mind is a resource for mental wellness, including counseling services. And Safe Schools Maryland allows students and families to anonymously report safety concerns, including mental health concerns. Again, these are some of our other MCPS district-wide resources, which includes the Crisis Center for Montgomery County that is open and available 24 hours, 7 days a week. That information is here. It can also be found online as well through the Montgomery County government page also. Along with other online resources, including the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the National Parent Lifeline, and Info About Kids. All of these resources will be available, and you can always reach out to your local school, whether it's the school counselor, school psychologist, or whomever you feel comfortable with to point you in the right direction for supports.